All right, what's up, guys? It's Talon. I know we've been doing a lot of coaching videos lately. Again, like I said, I'm gonna have this stretch of 4 or 5 straight coaching videos, then we'll go back to the normal stuff. I hope you guys enjoy the coaching video. We're coaching a Shen player right now. He is currently Diamond. I think his peak is Grandmaster. If you're interested in coaching yourself for just $15 an hour, you can get coached by me, a rank 5 player. DM me through Discord, through Twitter, link in the description to both of those, and let's get right into the video.
Um, I buy a short sword first. So
Oh,
because I
okay, so
find
that's
that
why it's like that.
yeah, because I find that hitting last hitting is a lot easier.
Yeah, no,
Especially
that's
like a lot of
understandable.
times, yeah, I'm farming under tower. So I always what I do is I pull my sword. So pretty standard. I pull my sword forward so I can have empower Q, like
Yeah.
easy access to empower Q. And I find like Shen early on, there's a lot of like he doesn't really have he doesn't have the sustain to keep up with a lot of champs,
Yeah.
right?
So the first thing already in this lane though, you hit
Yeah,
like really hard to get level 2. And it's good that you're trying to get level 2, but you should only be
yeah.
hitting one more auto than him. So that when
Oh,
he walks up, you can auto and then go on him.
mm,
Because like the way that you did it, you push the wave so you have no actual pressure on him. And Mundo is really
hmm.
bad like all in level 1. Like he's only good at poking level 1. But in terms of like
Right,
all inning him or trading with him, you'll win like longer trades. And so yeah, again, you're
right.
doing the same thing where you're pushing really hard when you should just be
Mm,
pushing slightly more than him so that he actually has to walk up and do something instead of just like you kind of getting this push here. You know what I mean? So does
right.
that make sense?
Yeah, yeah. I think what my intention was like normally I think early on, what a lot of champs do is that they, especially like grass champs, right?
Yeah.
I try to get to the I try to activate the
The
grass
grasp as soon
first.
as possible. Yeah.
Right. But then to your point, like I think clearly he's now that I'm looking at this replay, like he's being really passive, right? And I
Yeah.
should have picked up on that.
And also pause real quick
Okay.
and
Yeah.
then go in the top right, turn the vision to just your blue vision so we don't
Oh,
know what you see.
oh, okay. How do I do
The
that
three
again?
bars
Top
in the
right
top right. Uh,
here?
yeah, and then click Fog of War, the blue one.
Okay.
There we go. Now we only see what you would see that way. Yeah, it's like more
Yeah.
like. But that's also the thing
But
here. I don't know the exact gold, but because since you buy
mhm.
a longsword, you can back on Boots Power Spike in the same way that like you'd prefer to most of the time. Instead of rushing hard, so like I prefer backing for the boots so that your laning is stronger. And because you do
Oh,
longsword start, it takes you
yeah.
500 more gold to get to that. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So
Yeah, yeah. Also, I what I noticed was with a sword for me, like even though I'm playing Shen, I find that I just like trading a lot, right? And
yeah,
that sword DPS early really helps. But I no, I completely
I think
understand
it's
because if
fine
you
for you to
lose,
still go the short sword. It just means that
yeah,
yeah, our back like we have to wait a little longer, really. Like if we want to actually get bigger value out of our
yeah,
back. So yeah, we're kind of just sitting here. I mean, in general, Shen's early game is like pretty decent, but it's not where we're trying to like solo kill an opponent. In a Mundo, I mean, we're not really gonna kill most of the time. So
yeah.
anyways.
How do you like? How do you kind of resist? How do you resist engaging in the fight? Because I know, like for example, set or something, right? Like
Yeah.
honestly, like unless he makes a mistake, I'm not winning that trade, right? But I feel like I find myself getting baited into
So
a
in like a
fight. Like, how do you
1v1, you're
remind
talking about like
yourself?
in lane going in too
Yeah,
much?
in lane.
Okay, then in
Yeah.
lane, like the simplest thing is understanding that we should trade around our jungler, especially in a game like this.
Hmm.
So like if enemy jungler was Shyvana, you can trade whenever you feel like, basically, because she's
Right.
not gonna gank very often, right? But like enemy
Right.
jungler
Right.
is Lee
Right.
Sin. He's like one of the scariest
Right.
early game gankers of anyone. So we have to be a lot
Yeah.
more aware of where he is. So if, for example, your jungler's not here right now, you need to be freezing this, not walking up to
Right.
zone him. See, you want him to recall here. Him recalling here is happy for you because you have 6. He has 6 minions. You have 4. So he would lose all 4 of
Yeah.
these minions if he recalled. But you're like really concerned with stopping his recall, and you
Yeah.
also don't know where your jungler is again. So like you want your wave more on bot side right now because your jungler's not here. You don't know where theirs is. Obviously, now that you see theirs here, like
Hmm.
now you don't care. But again, you have wanted to freeze because then every time that he has to walk up for last hit, you can trade on him. Instead now, like you were just walking up clearing the wave.
I
There's
was
no
going
real
back.
intention, you know.
Yeah. I went back because I saw a fight at the top,
Yeah,
and
you're
then
looking for
I was
gold. No,
preparing.
I get it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But even here, like Mundo can't actually. I don't think he has any CC to stop your ult. So like even if you end up losing some health in order to
Yeah.
like, basically, it seems like again based on GPM and the way you play, you're a bit too unselfish on the early game Shen, because I have a lot of games where I play with a Shen top and then they're like 2k gold behind because they give up so much on their early game turret because they see an opportunity, and
Yeah.
you can be a bit more like like aggressive in the lane. You can be trading more often, and then again, since he doesn't have CC, you can just ult and be okay with being slightly lower in that fight because it ends up making your lane easier. And also like Mundo, we're not as worried about him split pushing. Like if you're into say like a Fiora, then it's usually going to be kind of bad to be ulting most of the time unless your wave is really good.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
into a
Yeah. Yeah.
Mundo, you can kind of just ult pretty freely because he's not going to get that much out of you leaving, you know. So
Right. Yeah, no, that's a great point. Like, I feel that whenever early game, like like if I'm going against like any kind of like a auto attack champion, I'm losing half my turrets, right? How do you kind of make that judgment to say, okay, this is all I'm gonna,
so you
be
usually
1K
shouldn't.
behind.
I'm not like a Shen player, but like
Yeah.
I can still speak on it. I feel like it's generally just you don't really want to be using your ult until it's going
Hmm.
to impact the first objective for the most part, unless you have a
Mm,
scenario like into like a split pusher, into again a tank you can ult earlier if it's going to really like help your team get ahead, because that tank you're not worried about him getting ahead. But yeah, like a Camille, a Fiora, a Jax,
yeah.
they're going to take too much of our towers. So in a scenario like that, you
Hmm.
generally don't want to be ulting in until say 4:30-ish, where it's like going to make it so your team wins that fight, and you also have to be pretty confident that that fight's going to be changed by your ultimate, which is a judgment call, obviously, that you have to make.
Right.
And then the other thing to help prevent um, this happening is
Hmm.
keeping your wave pushed, because then you can crash the wave before ulting, and then they don't lose as much, or they don't get as
Right.
much. You don't lose as much, and then
Yeah.
you might be later on the ult, right? It might be more likely that your team ends up dying, but like your team shouldn't expect level 5 to just have that Shen giving them like a free, unless you're coordinating with like your jungle friend or whatever. But you don't need to be
Yeah.
so worried about what's going on early game with your team to the point that you're like screwing your own lane over. So make sure that
Hmm.
you push that lane and then you're roaming basically, because then it gives a lot less time for the enemy to split push and you can get back there quicker and everything, you know. So.
Right.
Yeah, even here, like, we should immediately push the wave again, and then now we're pretty much just perma looking for roams. We're not really going to kill Mundo, and he's
Hmm.
playing passive enough where we just don't care about helping him, or trying to kill him, rather. And so we're pretty much
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
looking to help our team, which is what you do here. And pushing this in succession with the next wave that's coming is ideal, because if you get that
Hmm.
wave to crash, then you have a lot of time to roam. Now you see a good opportunity to go in here, and this is a great decision, so that's perfectly fine to do it like that. And since you have that thing, it's pushing the wave, so you have a lot of time to get back without really losing anything. So this is a perfect play.
Yeah.
And also, obviously, I assume we're building anti-heal this game, and they only really have one AP champ, and it's just Morgana, so like, gonna have a lot of armor this game to make it really hard for their carries to play.
I I think so. I'm pretty sure I do, but
Yeah.
honestly, like, um, it doesn't feel great to get the anti-heal, but
Yeah.
I still build it as I think as a default. It
You mean like what do you mean as default? Like every game you build it?
like most of the games because I think most games have some sort of like heal,
Yeah, and
right?
the item is
Yeah,
strong enough that yeah, it's fine. Like to
yeah,
generally have.
and it's sort of yeah. Plus, it sort of scales with Heartsteel, right? So.
Yeah, so it's generally gonna be good. Yeah, so that makes sense.
Oh, you know what I do too? My
Yeah.
default build, I do build Titanic Hydra over Sunfire because I noticed that Shield Bash does insane amounts of damage on
I
Shen.
think that's good. Yeah, I think that's
Yeah.
probably the optimal build is Heartsteel Titanic for sure. And then like that's when you go situational items after that.
Yeah, my third item is usually usually Twin Guard because it kind of gives you because you had two HP items
Yeah,
already, so I
no,
was
that's
figured,
definitely good for
yeah,
sure. Yeah, I think twin, and then like fourth Thornmill, or yeah, Thornmill here. But like I would
yeah.
go Bramble before I end up doing Twin Guard, and then finish Twin Guard,
Mm.
and then short mill. Yeah, I think that would be good.
Yeah.
And I saw you're going projector a lot of times. I don't know how much AP he has. I think he has some, right? But I don't know exactly where the damage
Yeah.
is, like the AP is.
It's mostly for when I play with my one trick friend,
Yeah.
because then it helps a lot. It does boost their damage, kind of materially. I think his Q scales with AP as well, so it does give you kind of a damage boost. Because I know it's like late game,
Yeah.
Uh, Shen's good at CC, but he's not really there to do damage, right? Unless you get really massive heart steal stacks.
Yeah. Okay, and the thing again here, like you were going back in the bush once again to look for an ult, and again, we don't need to be scared of Mundo hitting us a little bit before we ult in. And also, you
Hmm.
need to be pushing your wave before an objective like this, instead of doing this. Like again, you're not worried about the wave, and so it's kind of the same thing. You're missing
Hmm.
out, you missed 100 gold there
Yeah,
for no reason, but we could just get it. Like this is not necessary. You also ulted
right.
pretty early, which, I mean, it's not the end of the world. I don't mind you being a bit more like, when the end of objective is up, being a bit more trigger happy with your ult. That's pretty fine. But yeah,
Hmm.
we'll just be pushing the wave more often, because like ideally in a game like this, you could have just greeted that bot turret, because your team actually
Right.
was kind of chilling, and you can be a bit later on the thing. And again, I get that's kind of scary, because then maybe your ult, they die before your ult or whatever, and that's gonna
Yeah.
happen. But it's more about like, again, we're trying to carry solo queue games. Like even on a Shen, we have to squeeze the gold that we can squeeze out of the game, and
Mm.
like play more for like plays that are actually going to allow us
I'm
to carry. So
Yeah. Oh, I remember missing that
yeah,
flash.
I mean, I like that you're going for it though. And again, like this is the best time to go for it, because there's no objective. So losing your flash doesn't even matter. Like if we miss it, we miss it. It is what it is. And you should go top here as well. No one's top side. There's a low turret, and your team is bot side.
Mm.
Right now we have a free top turret that we can go get in a wave. And so if you'd walked there a lot earlier, it's better. And again, like also another thing that we need to understand is, um, giving up gold to a Mundo doesn't scare us anyway. So even if he did go bot, and your team
Yeah.
didn't go, like, but again, we should have been much earlier on top side, and then pinging the
Right.
Yasuo to stay bot, because obviously now we end up switching positions, and it would have just been
Yeah.
quicker to do it that way. Also, obviously,
Right.
you want to be top side because Baron's spawning, and you have your ult, so obviously we want to be opposite side for that as well.
Right. Right. Yeah.
And yeah, going up even further here, again, I would again be taking a recall at this point and going to top side, so same thing, but
Hmm.
he does keep giving you free heart still though, so that's very nice of him.
Yeah.
I mean, there's not that much that happens so far in this game, so there's not a ton of things to talk about. So again, like, that's why there's kind of just those couple main points of, like, now here, the side laning thing in the early game just being a bit more, like, trading based on jungle kind of pathing, and being more
Yeah.
looking to push your
Just
wave before we ults and stuff like that, so.
right. Yeah. Yeah. I guess like Yeah. No. Apparently, I chose an easier lane than I thought. I thought because I chose a game that I lost.
Yeah.
I think this is probably comes down to late game execution, because like right now it's even, right?
Yeah.
So.
But I still think, again, like, there's those points which I don't, when you're approaching improvement, and also, like, your player is peak grandmaster, so you're not, like, awful at the game or whatever. So, like, when you're approaching improvement, trying to break from, like, now you're diamond, but diamond players right now are master grandmaster, like, late season, so it makes sense that you're diamond currently. And, like, when you're trying to break from, like, the master diamond, or the master grandmaster level player to, like, challenger, it's about these small details and, like, consistency and doing them every game. Because, like, these types of things, again, you keep your macro here, like this is like really awful top lane macro that we keep going bot over and over, and the Mundo's doing the same thing. The fact that you haven't been top side yet this game after, you know, second dragon, like basically almost every time after second dragon as Shen, you should be top side for as long as possible. You should be trying to squeeze as much gold as you can, because your champion does a surprising amount with gold. Like, it's kind of unexpected.
Yeah.
Your champ's actually really strong.
Yeah.
And so getting a lot of gold on your champ is actually very valuable, and you have that ult to allow you to squeeze so much more gold out of the map than the average top laner can.
Right. So I guess like when you mean by that, I see like I am like literally like mentally stuck to my lane, right?
Yeah.
So do you mean that I should like, consider the other lanes so long that there is gold, right? Instead of just
Well, it's
automatically going
also,
back
you
to.
want to be opposite side of an objective always with TP.
Oh, yeah.
Like that is the number one thing. Like when you have TP, like the spell, or when you're playing a split pusher, you always want to be opposite side of the objective. And obviously you have a built-in TP, so it's even more useful for you. Like you always want to be basically away from where the fight's going to happen if you have your ultimate, because then you can squeeze as many other things, whether that's baiting someone towards you on top side, whether that's stealing their jungle camps, pushing a turret, doing all these other things. Now you got to be careful not to over push, obviously, right? But like here again, you ended up ulting in earlier, right? Like you literally backed up and then ulted in here. You could have done the same thing from top lane, except that top lane wave right now would be on their turret, and that would mean that when that top lane wave's on their turret, their Mundo or their Morgana or someone is going to go there. So instead of there being 4 people, since Mundo's not there, there would be 3 people in this bot lane fight, and then your team has a better chance of winning just by you not being there initially.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, definitely. I think what I learned here is that I still should treat the Baron like a Baron that's alive, a potential objective, right? Because like I know that if there's a dragon spawning, I should be on the opposite of the dragon, and dragons will be taken pretty quickly after they
Barons
spawn.
aren't always taken right away for sure. So.
Right, but as good habit, I should still be on the opposite of Baron.
Well, it's not even about like the Baron being taken right away. It's just like, also if you die on the top side, they're not going to get Baron off your death because you they're so far away. But if you die on bot side, it's very likely that they can get it because like of the fact that you're so much closer to it. So that's like another thing. The way you play this team fight's pretty fine though. I mean, you're just being tanky and CCing and buying time, so I don't really mind how you play the fight at all. That's good. It does look like we'll lose, but it's a relatively close fight. At this point, I don't know if you want to pull up the gold, because I want to see like who's strongest on team, what we should really be doing. And so Xayah is really the problem right now. And like you don't have anyone who's particularly strong that you need to be like protecting in these fights. So ideally, you're going to be trying to find a way to get Xayah ult out before Elder, because that's going to be kind of the game deciding fight. I mean, it's hard, right? We have Soul, but we're down 6k, so like realistically we're down probably, they're going to get more, but we'll be down probably like 5k like effective gold at this point. And so the only real way you win is say 1730, 1745. You manage to blow Xayah ult early, and then you're able to say use your gargoyle to end up flashing out as well, and then your team somehow re-engages on her, and that's really the only way we're going to win this fight. And it's unlikely, but that's pretty much what we have to be thinking at this point.
Yeah, or like I think for me, just thinking, I'd probably tell Xin Shao to focus Xayah.
Yeah,
I'll teleport on him, and then hopefully I can land a taunt on her, right?
Then, yeah, and if you're able to teleport on him when he goes in the fight, that's good. But also, like in a thing like this, it's okay to look for flank angles and use your ult like later as well, depending on how the fight turns out. But also, you could be split pushing bot, like when the Elder is coming up, and then TP in again as well. Yeah, like it just depends on how the game plays out, kind of.
Right.
Okay, your teammate just can't smite, or is he dead? Did your jungler die? Oh, your jungler died. Okay, I was gonna say like what? This ends up being pretty good for us, though.
Yeah, I think the issue is like we can't get close to Xayah.
Yeah, which again, like you would have Twin Guard if where our macro was better here, like in terms of getting gold right, and then having that Twin Guard is going to make you infinitely more tanky, which allows you to potentially win those fights into Xayah. And then depending on how early we identify that Xayah is good, Frozen Hearts possibly is like something we could look into, but I don't think it would have been able to identify that like at that point, because we didn't know she'd be this fat at this point in the game. But and then yeah, it's good to keep this guy here as long as possible, and then just TP in his face basically. So like you should be like kind of trying to get him to fight you, and then just TPing on your team. It looks like you're just gonna end up flipping your team. So why do you back first?
I think I have a Twin Guard.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah. I feel like you need to be TPing way earlier too. Like at this point, like it's like this fight's all that matters, and you TP'd in so late. Your teammate got the Elder too, but because again, like we weren't ever in a position to like blow Xayah ult or do anything like that, he's still gonna be completely safe in the fight. But yeah, your teammate wins the flip, so I mean that's good. But I do think TPing in significantly earlier is what you should have done. So. Here again, we should go top. We shouldn't go mid with our team. We should go top eventually, but it should be quicker again, like keeping that lane pushed, because this is kind of your strongest point is when you guys obviously have Elder. And I don't know, I can't see how you have Baron as well. So yeah, I mean, you have Baron, or did it die?
No, it expired.
It expired. Okay. Then I guess there's no real way to end the game. So the only thing we're looking for is like if we randomly force a fight, but you can't really end since they're desynced to Baron and the Elder, so that kind of sucks.
Yeah. Yeah, I see what you mean. So I just went back to buy uh, my Thornmail.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm ready to get here.
See, here at this point, like with Elder, I would be like over walking forward into their jungle and just trying to keep that Lee Sin there as long as possible, because he's relatively strong in the game, and I just want him like distracted with me. And if he goes on me, they're never gonna kill like you without your team being able to come and then having a fight force with Elder.
Yeah.
And then obviously now our Elder is gone, so now we're just again staying on side lane, and then you probably TP in here. Yeah, he ends up dying. I'm guessing Zaya's gonna carry this fight or something. Okay, going in is kind of the issue here, I guess. No real reason to jump in when your team was already getting out and you had a pick, but it's not the end of the world. I mean, you're pretty tanky. That'd probably be fine.
Yeah, I should have backed, but I think I thought, you know, because I think at that point I probably picked up on Desire, and I was like, she was right in front of me, and then somehow I CC'd during my talk, so I was like, all right.
And yeah, the problem with that is also we lost our Gargoyle Flash, so now like then we're gonna die in this situation because we blew it earlier.
Yeah.
And also like once your teammate is picked there and your team is so far away from you, going back in is useless because our only goal at this point should be to stall the game because we like realize the fight can't be won.
Yeah, I think this is where we just lose.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I definitely need more discipline in terms of coming, in terms of maximizing farm, right?
Yeah. I mean, frankly, that game was low, like, action or impact or really decisions being made. It was pretty much like tanks whacking each other and like you having limited impact. But you could have significantly more gold than you did in that game, and you could be managing your wave in a way where the wave is pushing, and then you can look for earlier ults or like actually be helping your team like on that first dragon fight and like earlier on in the game without losing as much. And like that's kind of the main thing. And like here is the game against the Jax where we'll see more like how it's kind of played into one of these types of matchups. So.
Yeah. But yeah, so I think definitely my lesson here was just be more aggressive, like around pushing during like
and also the wave thing as well. The early game, instead of hitting your wave so hard, you need to be hitting it more like just again one minion ahead of them, so or one auto rather ahead of them.
One ahead.
And I will also write out notes typically at the end if you want, but if you're writing out notes now, we don't have to do that. If you prefer doing it yourself, I don't mind that either. It's totally up to you. But...
Okay.
At this point, instead of trading, I would again be autoing that minion because you could have hit level 2 there on him. And he used his, like once he uses his E, he's useless, and like he'd used his E and it's like a relatively long cooldown. So as soon as he used his E and then you had even minions there, you should have been walking to the cannon and just hitting it, or rather the caster minion hitting it, and then you'd have level 2 and he has level 1, and then you can trade on him.
Right.
So
yeah, I think
trade there.
Yeah, definitely. I think for me, I'm too focused on trying to get the grass on him.
Yeah, honestly, like I use Gragas. I'm playing a lot this season, and like I'm thinking about the grasp when it's convenient, but the grasp is by far one of like the lowest priorities in terms of like my wave management is a way bigger deal. His like bone plating cooldown is a way bigger deal to me. His spell cooldowns, jungle location are all things I'm thinking about much more. I've never really died greeting a grasp proc before. It's like a very low priority overall. So.
Got it.
And our wave is good here now, so that's good for sure. Again, turn the vision, by the way.
Oh yes. Let's see.
There we go. Yeah. And I don't necessarily mind you just kind of playing this more passive now, but again, like we should be in an aggressive spot in this lane. Again, if we had that level 2 advantage, and then we like use that to snowball the entire lane, and then we wouldn't be in this type of situation where we're more like pushed under our turret, and he's playing more aggressive. So. And also the spacing is obviously bad there to get W'd, but I mean that's just a mechanical thing.
That free. Yeah, that was a free hit. I think for me, I think my mentality here was that he trades better than me, right?
I don't think he really does. I'm pretty sure you should be able to Like your taunt, I'd assume when he's using it, you can use your dash to get out of his stun, and that's like his big trade. Yeah, like this is how you trade. And I think if you
Right.
do this trade every time, you win it. So like I
Right.
think you can just trade consistently in that type of pattern.
Yeah. And this is where I usually get in trouble in most of my early game matchups. I usually don't like get the scorpion,
Yeah.
right? And then I just lose so much life, right? Trying to prevent plates from happening.
Yeah, you could have
From
just let it go under your tower, and then it would get your tower to like 2,800, and then it just gets cleared there. Like you don't have to be so worried about it. And also, again, like
yeah.
this is why your wave management in general, like you're very passive and just playing the scale, and like you're not really pushing as much as you can be. Like your champion is not the strongest ever early game, but it can trade pretty well. And when you're
Right.
always keeping your wave under tower like this, it means
Mhm.
that every death is a big deal. Because if you die
Yeah.
when your wave is under
Yeah.
tower, you lose 6,
Yeah.
7, 800 gold. He gets more gold,
Oh
right?
yes.
But if you
That happens
die
all the
after
time.
pushing his wave,
Yeah.
you lose 300 gold. Like that's not a
Yeah.
big deal. And so like you need to be
Right.
more aggressive with your wave management. And sometimes it's fine to keep the wave frozen if you're denying
Mhm.
him like if you can trade on him every time he goes for a last hit, because like if you had your wave in the position it was level 3, level 4, and then every
Yeah.
time that he tried to go up for the cannon, you were punishing him a lot harder, you would have a bigger
Yeah.
advantage. So again, like if we had that initial level 2 trade and then your wave was how it is, and then you'd poked him when he actually went for the last hits a lot more aggressively and made these trades with him more aggressively, he's
Mhm.
going to be a lot lower, and you're going to probably be winning the trades overall, and then your jungle is again going to be on you in that time that he came, and you should know your jungler is going to be there because you saw him bot side when you're level 3, level 4. So that means obviously by the time he's level 5, level 6, he's going to be coming to you because he's going to obviously want his topside camps, and you're going to have a likely time to like look for a gank there.
Right.
And also you need to be way more aggressive here. Your jungler is again coming and your wave sucks. You need to be trying as hard as possible to get this wave pushed in really fast instead of going for the like, scorpion guy. Like it's not that big of a
Right.
deal to get the scorpion. It's more important to be trading aggressively when our jungler is actually pathing towards us. And
Yeah.
you need to
And
go for that wave there and just auto it and like just E out after or whatever your taunt is. I don't know which it is, but you
right.
need to just dash out right after you get the full wave. Like you could have done that. And you also need to
Yeah. I
recall
think.
right now. 100% you need to recall so that you can ult in if you need, or that you're higher health for the fight. But you're concerned with staying in lane again. Not good.
Mhm.
Because yeah, like again, a thing to understand is like your strongest points are objectives, and his strongest points are like fighting in lane and playing for turrets. So like you don't want to be
Right.
in a scenario where you're permanently stuck on a side lane with this Jax when you can take like advantage of the times to fight. So like looking for a recall there and then a TP in if your Viego ended up fighting would be the best time to fight. Now obviously we end up just trading objectives, so it's not actually
Mhm.
useful in this scenario, but
Right.
that's what we should be looking for and why we don't want to
Right.
just be stuck in lane against him, because Jax loves when you're stuck in lane against him. Like that's exactly what he wants. Then here, nothing you can do, obviously. Nice try, but unfortunate.
Right. So yeah. So definitely um, be better about recalling, especially when my lane's pushed. Right. When I can just have
Yeah.
I can reset right free. He wasn't going to get to my tower by the time I get back. Uh, and trade more often, right? And push my
Well,
lanes because I think
your trading still has to be smart though. Like it has to be
yeah
based on his cooldowns. Because again, like the first time you could have traded when you didn't was going for
yeah
that level 2 because he didn't have his E up, and you weren't aware of the fact that, oh, now he doesn't have E, he's not scary. Like Jax is only
right
scary early game trades when he has E, and then like once he's level 3, he can start to kind of trade without E, but he's still gonna lose it if he doesn't have it. Like if you take the trade, right?
right
So like anytime that that's not up, you want to be playing a lot
hmm
more aggressive for sure. So,
got it
and again, yeah, unfortunately you can't ult that much when you're playing into a Jax. You generally have to like be more worried about the side lane early, so that. But your team is doing well, so that's not really a problem.
hmm
And again, like our jungler is currently not here. He's probably going to be here within the next 10-ish, like 20 seconds, because all of his camps are coming up.
hmm
So, like we don't really want to trade until another wave after this one, and then we want to start trading because our jungler is going to start coming to us. And Before that, we're
tracking
kind
your
of just sticking in lane, just chilling. Why are you walking back here too? Like, I don't get that. Are you looking for an ult, or
Was my all up? Let's see.
your ult is up? But that's not. You shouldn't ever ult here because you're gonna lose way too much. Like, regardless, you can't.
Oh, okay.
You just can't
Okay.
because it's Jax. He's gonna take your entire turret, and that's not okay.
Yeah.
Because
Okay.
you're gonna go down so much gold, and then the rest of the side lane is gonna be too problematic. And so that's
Yeah.
the thing. Like, in a situation like this, I don't even mind that hard that you're trading here like this, because your jungler is here. And this is why you actually should have walked up. I think the fruit was spawning, but even if it wasn't, you should have walked up, pinged your jungler, and then tried to fight on this wave, or at least get the wave clear, but stayed under your tower. Because what you lose here, okay, so what you lose if you die, right, is 300 gold, but your jungler is going to be there, and so you're only going to lose 300 gold. What you lose from losing a turret is the amount of the wave that dies from the turret over 300 gold. I don't know the exact number, but it's probably like 1,000-ish gold from a turret, including the global, at least 500 plus.
Right.
So we're losing more gold. Like, it's okay to die, kind of. Is it like a thing? Like, if we die with our lane pushed, it's not as bad as dying with how your lane has been managed this entire game. But this entire game, you die once, really bad. This, you even lose a trade like that, you have to recall with a wave pushed, which means he gets the entire turret like he did there. And now, like, the turret is, and again, like, playing into a Jax, it's all about protecting your turret, no matter what. And Shen also, he likes being ahead, but he doesn't care if he's ahead. Like, you're a champion no matter whether you're ahead, behind, which means that managing your wave in a way where you're pushing it and keeping the enemy, like, distracted, because if your lane is pushed, it's more likely that the jungler ganks you, therefore is not ganking the enemy jungler. It gives your jungler more time to do other stuff. If your lane is pushed, it gives you a better opportunity to ult because you have more time to roam, to ult, to look for stuff. It gives you more time to look for vision, to find the enemy jungler. So basically, you need to be thinking less about dying, less about your individual, like, lane and being super worried, and more about keeping our lane pushed and finding ways to impact the game through vision and rotating and helping our team and stuff like that, while still being able to go back to the Jax. So, like, even in a game like this, I genuinely would think about buying TP, because then it gives me, like, a way to be able to help my team and get right back to stopping the Jax.
Against the split push. Right?
And it doesn't necessarily need to be initially either, because, like, it's once you identify it's actually a problem. So say that you, like, once you lost this turret, then it starts to be a problem because he could go on your tier 3 or your tier 2 or your tier 3 turret. But if you have all your turrets up, you don't necessarily need to buy it until, say, like, later on in the game, right? But it depends how the Jax plays, because a lot of split pushers in mid to low elo are dumb enough where, like, they try to team fight when they're ahead a lot, and then you might not even need to worry about him splitting. But again, a situation like this, your lane again isn't pushed, and that initially comes from us losing lane because our lane trades are bad, but it also comes from you not being okay with dying, which means then you have no real ability to help your team in this fight if they needed help, and they didn't because they're doing pretty well. But had they needed help, if you ulted there, Jax gets at least an entire turret, and obviously, again, that is a big problem. So
that's pretty much like emblematic of my playstyle, right? Like, I don't want to die.
Yeah. And so yeah, that's there's this player in NA. You're NA or no?
Yes, I'm in NA.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know, like, Shyster Nick, or his name's like Burnt Skywalker in game, or like other things. He is like a tank player. He's a challenger tank player. He's very good at the game, and he basically, like, he has a lot of games where he goes 0-10 and is extremely useful because he's a tank player. He plays other roles, but he plays a lot of tank tops, and he just does not care about dying if it's going to help the team. Like, he's say that you do lose lane, because you're going to lose lane playing like this more often, and you need to get better at laning so that you lose lane as little as possible, because honestly Nick loses lane way more than he should. But, like, when you're laning, even if you end up losing lane, you go 0-2. Once you're 0-2, now you don't care about dying. Like, that's the luxury you get of being 0-2, because now if I go 0-3, I'm worth 150 gold. I go 0-4, I'm worth the less gold you're worth, the less it matters that they kill you. Now, the more time they waste for you, every time that you die past 0-3, you should be happy that you died, because you're always going to get more value from whatever wave you got, or turret you died for, or vision you died for, than what they got from killing you. Now, obviously, like, there's like, be reasonable about it. Obviously, don't just die. But yeah, like, that is something that we can be a lot more okay with happening. And then when we're playing more aggressive, it also gives us more times where we're going to hard win lane, and then be able to carry through the fact that we're actually just strong. And again, here we're topside for too long. We need to be bot at this point in the game, because again, the Baron. So, and yeah, going back to top. Okay, then you saw Jax. The only reason you went bot is because you just saw Jax. If you didn't see Jax, I'm pretty sure you would have went top based on how we were passing. So
Yeah.
And also, like, our team is winning again, which is even more reason for us to want to be opposite of the objective, because a little bit more, if you're stronger, you can justify it a little more, but even then, we have a TP built in, so we still shouldn't, but... Also, Frozen Heart, this game is quite good as well. Like, fourth or fifth item. It's not an early item in this game, because you need MR, but... like fourth item, I think I would go Frozen Heart after getting Twin Guard, because it's so good in 1v1 versus Jax, and then it's also good versus Talon and Nyla, so. And again, here, like, you can be a little more okay with trading in terms of just going for the wave. Like, you're not actually trading him. Like, at this point on side lane, you're never trading him. Again, never trade him. Doesn't matter. But if we're getting the wave, and then we have to push in the wave, we have a better time to roam, and he can really kill you. Like, especially when you have your flash up. Like, again, your flash is a resource. Obviously, you don't want to blow flash, but flash on Shen isn't that big of a deal.
Right,
to the point where, like, yeah, you're okay with losing it if it means you get that wave quicker. And again, you're still not going to die to him. Like, if he goes on you, you're just going to taunt out, and then you're fine. Also, we should have ulted in a lot earlier, no? Or is it just... yeah, like, I feel like this ult also should have been, like, 5 seconds earlier based on what I'm seeing on the map. But, yeah. I mean, it works out, I guess. Not a big deal.
Enemy turret destroyed.
Viego is interesting. I don't think we can do Baron here.
No, we basically lose because of this Viego. He's
yeah, he looks kind of like us. Like, I can tell he's gonna do some weird stuff.
Yeah, he chose Viego just because it was open, right? But then, to your point, there was like macro decisions that he was making. He was like 3v1ing and everything. So
yeah, I mean, Viego is strong, but he's not like unbeatable to the point that people like think they need to pick him every time. And then here, the dragon doesn't matter at all because we're Ishim is a dragon, and so there's no soul to fight over. So like the only point of dragon is soul. And so you walking here is really bad. Like, your teammate hinting is bad, but what you really should be thinking is, my teammate just hinted, I don't want them getting Baron, because that makes the game actually hard. And so you should be getting bush around Baron and camping a bush around Baron, pinging your team for Baron, instead of pushing bot here. Pushing bot here doesn't actually help us much. And so now they might go Baron after this, and then that's going to be a bigger problem. But if you were camping a bush on Baron, and you ping your team, and you were actually trying to help your team not die here, then we're probably going to prevent Baron, but instead we're going to lose Baron here. So.
Yeah, I think for me, I knew that we weren't gonna contest the dragon.
Yeah.
So I think I should have, to your point, started like camping out, moving and pushing the waves top, right?
And again, you're trading with Jax. He wins side lane against you. Basically, every pushing champ is gonna win against you on 2-3 items in a side lane, and so you need to be trading for the wave again. Like, you're like, I'm taking some health so I get the wave pushed. Then it allows me to back, or to PP, or to rotate for vision or other things, because you want to minimize the time that you're on side lane while maximizing the time that your wave is closer to their turret than their wave is closer to your turret. So that's basically your entire objective on the side lane into a split pusher. Your objective is not pressure the turret, because you can never pressure a turret into a Jax, especially because he's obviously blocking all of your damage basically. So
yeah, and I think at the end of the game, I actually didn't look at his items very much. But it turns out that it was all like on hit. Everything was on hit for him, right? So there was no way I could have traded. So
yeah, I mean, no matter what Jax builds, there's never going to be a
Yeah.
chance where you can trade unless you one lane and then are ahead a lot, and then like that's when we can actually become a side lane champion. But
yeah,
yeah, in a situation like this, again, like we need to you were never in river basically this entire game. You're basically only relying on your ult to roam, which is another thing. You can rely on you can just move. Like, you were, because the problem with ult is you have to, like, your teammates have to kind of make the engage, and then you go in at late. And that means that you can never get vision around a bush and like camp a bush and find like a good angle or flank on their carrier, or find good ways to get on the enemy. You don't always have to be insta shielding to start the fight off. Again, like, we want obviously to get good value out of our ult, but if we're pushing this like, once we push these lanes, we just go into the river and just look towards mid, and then when that wave is coming back to like neutral, we go back to it, and we just keep doing that over and over again until we find something, or until the next objective comes, or until we have an ult opportunity basically. Whereas like, you're kind of permanently on the side lane, and the only time that you leave side lane is when you ult into a fight. You know what I mean?
right. Yeah. So I'm not really like most of the time, like I'm not really creating more opportunities to kind of get
Yeah,
my
you're only relying
team
on your
ahead.
ultimate basically.
Right. I
And
think one
here
thing,
again we go
yeah.
mid, right? Like you see right now, we should be going towards mid, not towards the side lane. And it looks like eventually you do it. But yeah, if you'd walked here significantly earlier, okay, you're not even now you're worried about Jax.
Slain.
But like you
Yeah.
could have been there like 10 seconds earlier, 5 seconds earlier, and then possibly helped your team get a kill. Obviously,
Hmm.
it worked out, so it's fine. But again, we should have been looking towards the mid there, because what is that? What do we actually gain from that bot? Like we gained nothing from getting that
Right.
bot
It wasn't
turret.
even
What?
close to tower.
Yeah, all that you care about is getting that wave pushing. So basically, you have one more minion than them, you're happy already. Now you can leave it,
Right.
because until someone else touches it, you're fine. And then again, we're trading
Right.
instead of trading for a wave. This is a
Right,
common
right,
thing
right.
every time. You're always losing the trades. You're never going to win the trades against Jax. He's
Inhibitor
got a true
turret
damage
is
item on you as well. Like you're never going to win it.
Your team has slain the elder.
Did we lose this game?
Yeah.
Middle
Okay,
turret
that's
is
surprising.
under attack.
Yeah.
Still looks like it's a
No,
winning position.
I know. It's our jungle inting.
Yeah,
Like the entire team has been carrying him right now, and then
yeah. I mean, I
it
don't
just
think
fucks it
you've
up.
done anything to win or lose this game. I think you've just existed. And I'm not saying that like as
Right.
an insult. I just think we've
Yeah.
existed, and so the game. And I think that's generally what it seems like you are as a player, is that you're existing, and
Hmm.
you're a top lane player playing tanks. Like it makes sense that it's hard to find impact, and so you need to find your
Hmm.
impact in more like niche or unique ways rather than like you're not gonna win if you play these champs through usually stomping lane and getting super far ahead, carrying team fights 1v9. So you
Right.
need to be again finding those waves times to like actually find these roam timers to help get like if you get one kill for your mid laner, for example,
Hmm.
oftentimes that's enough for them to now snowball the game super hard because they're like already ahead. So like if you find a mid roam opportunity where you can do something like that, or again when we're playing into like a Mundo, we can look a lot more aggressively for these roams because we're not that worried about his side lane presence. And again, if we're
Right.
concerned with getting the wave and getting out of basically you're side laning way too much. And you're
Mhm.
also side laning not enough at the same time because like you're not getting enough gold from the side lane, and you're also on the side lane way longer than you should be. So like,
Right.
yeah, you're just having a poor use of your time. And this game is probably ending up being thrown by Viego, and maybe even if you play this perfectly, there's nothing you can do because that's
Right.
just
So
the reality
what
sometimes.
would you
But
do
yeah,
here? Like,
yeah,
would you have to continue pushing the tower,
yeah,
or
yeah.
would
No, at this point we have Elder, and our team is 4 people. But again,
right?
the wave, not the fight, is the thing. Like you always are going for the fight there, and then your team is here. Teammates here is kind of unfortunate, and that's also a thing. Like in this game again, instead of the gargoyle, the TP at this point in the game would be very useful with how much like we've kind of had to go back and everything. Not a
Mhm.
huge deal though. I think the gargoyle has helped as well, so it's like still fine. But and then the
Yeah.
thing is as well, this wave is a problem. We need to be pushing it further at this point. So like we want to get up on another wave here, and then like probably a second wave, which it looks like you're doing. So that's perfect. Then we TP because we see a fight, and Viego hinted. That's unlucky.
Shut down.
And then now we lose Baron, right?
Yeah. No, and then that's gonna make the
Yeah.
game hard. And that is what it is. Again, like that's not something we can control.
Mhm.
Happens. Unlucky. But going back towards mid here, yeah. So
Turret loss is under attack.
So my thinking here would be Baron's gone, so I'll probably push the lane.
yeah, the way the game's gonna end is through mid. So just getting this like
Yeah.
first mid wave cleared is important. And yeah, because of T-Rex, split pushing isn't as big. So like the bot wave is it doesn't exist in our mind right now. And then we just would want to get top pushed as far as possible so that they don't have 2 waves pushing as the
Mhm.
T-Rex arrives. So you want to make sure that this top wave is getting cleared as quick as possible first, which it looks like you do. So that's good. And then since you have ults, I might look for an additional top wave if we don't see Jax here. But since we see Jax now, we don't think he's splitting. But say you didn't know where Jax was, he might go topside, and it's more important to keep that wave away. And then you could ult back if you need to, you know what I mean? So this is good.
Ally slain.
Now the one shot.
Bottom
He almost
tower is
dies.
under attack. Enemy slain.
I don't know if we really needed to back off here too, though. Like we could have stayed around to possibly peel our teammates, but
Mm,
Turret loss.
right. Or
yeah, because like this now, it doesn't matter if you survive. Like it matters if your teammates survive. So again, like
yeah.
it's kind of selfish, scared gameplay, and it would have made it much more likely for your Viego to even survive here. Now, like again, he shouldn't be up here and dying. Like that's on him. But like,
Mhm.
if we were less worried about ourselves dying, and more worried about just protecting our teammate, it's fine. Just you got to be more okay with dying, basically. So. And I don't even think you would have died. I think you just sit there so that you're a reassurance, so your team can walk back. And
Right.
Like, that's really all that really would be.
Yeah, and then I still have the threat of a taunt, right? Like even if I'm not.
And again, it's still better that you die than Viego or Vex or Sarah dies. So.
Right. I guess like I think I think I know for a fact one of the reasons why I just play the lanes is because I think at least like 80% of the time it's probably because of my playstyle. During a fight and my ult's up, I might forget it. I usually forget to use it. Like right, so that's why I think there's a lot of hesitation to go into a fight, right? Because I'm usually
Because then you think you're not going to ult in the fight, or what?
Oh no, I just forget the existence of the ult.
Yeah, that's not even like the end of the world. But also, if we are forgetting, obviously that's just something we have to like start consciously thinking about, like in games more often. But like, even if we forget the ult, it's not actually like the end of the world to not get value of your ult. Your champ is still a very strong like team fighter, anyways. Yeah. Like the best Shen that I know is Yamashio, and he plays at jungle. And I mean, a lot of times he's like using his ult before fights or whatever. He's not always having his ult in the middle of fights. Like he's still able to get a lot of value in fights regardless of that. I don't think it's necessarily the only thing that is value. Like, and again, if you're getting ahead by playing better based on like the lane phase and the other things, then it's also not as big of a problem because you're going to be stronger in the fights to be there more often, and then you're going to have a bigger impact even if your ult isn't used.
Right. Oh, and the reason why I play defensive, I think it's because like knowing the type of hero Shen is, right? If I get behind, like there's no coming back, right? Then
Why?
to your
Wait,
point,
that's not true. What?
no, in terms of farm, right? I'm always
But
like,
that doesn't matter. Your farm does. You don't care about farm. Like you're a tank. Like after you, like 2 items is full build. Like essentially 2 items is full build for Shen. Like obviously like you can't literally be 2 items when they're 5 items. But like you can be 3 items to 4.5, 4 items, and you're perfectly okay with that. Your champ again is going for the wave on side lanes. You're never going for the trade. Like even here in a game where you're playing your playstyle, you're still getting shit on in side lane by Jax because that's just how the matchup goes. There's nothing you can do about that. Faker can't win that against like my little sister because it's just like the items are just too different, right? So, and that's just how the matchup goes, and you need to understand that you need to be okay with that. And that's why like even if you're playing safe, it doesn't matter because you're still gonna get outskilled on the side lane by almost any champion.
right.
At this point, I mean, there's nothing. We have 3 inhibs dead. We can't win.
So. Yeah, there's nothing. We had a chance, but then that's it. I think that's the end of the game.
And so yeah, I think your lane phase is like really the biggest problem. And like we have a lot of problems later in the game that we talked about macro-wise as well. But like the problem is your net. It looks like it's super rare that you ever have a real hard winning lane. And like your champ's lane is not that bad. It's not a crazy lane. But it's good enough where you should just be able to limit test your matchups a lot more. Like I don't even think you have a lot of games on Shen. I don't even know if you know what you can and can't do in all the matchups in terms of like when you can kill people, when you can trade and stuff like that. So I would say one of the biggest things that you need to be doing is testing when you don't know something. If you think you can go in, playing for that level advantage, things like that, I think are like the main issue right now. And again, that is also going to be a big thing. You're not punishing glass hits super hard again because you are really scared, even when you have your wave in a good spot. And then you're also pushing on level 1, you're pushing your wave too hard so that you can't punish on the early fights. So.
Right. If I fall behind 1,000 gold during laning, or even 2,000 gold, I'm not making up that gold, and I feel like at least I need to be within a reasonable amount of gold, right, to be effective as a Shen.
And the thing is, you're never gonna fall behind because again, 1 death is gonna fall behind maybe 500 gold because if you're playing aggressively, your lane is pushed, so you're only losing 200 gold. And then the second death, they get even less. That's why like you never will fall behind more than 2,000 gold unless you're like trying to lose on purpose. And if you're within 1 item of someone, that's going to be enough to survive most of the time long enough. Obviously, there's situations where it's not going to work out well, but also, again, you should be winning a lot of matchups anyways. Like this Jax matchup, you should win, in my opinion. So like, we shouldn't even be behind.
No, you're right. Like, there's no way that he could trade on me because I have empower Qs, I have the dodge, right, and taunt. Okay, and then I think one thing I probably need to do is just track jungle better, right?
Yeah.
I don't. It's not. It's not like a second nature to me to track the enemy jungle.
Yeah. And I don't think it needs to be initially. I think, and again, the way I approach improvement generally is I identify 2 to 3 things I want to work on, and then I
Mm-hmm.
work on those 2 to 3 things. And
Mm-hmm.
then once I feel like I've built those as habits, I'm better at those. I don't need to actively think about them anymore. Now they become passive thoughts that no longer like go in my mind during the game. And
Mm-hmm.
then
Got it.
I repeat this process, right? And so initially,
Right.
I don't want you thinking about jungle. The first thing I want you thinking about is this lane phase, playing over aggressive in the lane, and then you're gonna get punished by it. You're gonna die from it, and then that's gonna
Mm-hmm.
allow you to be in a position to play this 0-2-0-3 strategy, where now you don't care about dying so much that you're a lot more free to do stuff on the game. And
Mm-hmm.
then once you kind of like over index into that playstyle and you feel like you understand like when you should and shouldn't be by getting punished, because you're going to get punished by it, it's going to lead to losses, and then through that you're
Mm-hmm.
going to learn from it. And then once that happens, we can start to think about jungle as kind of like the next improvement. But I think the main things
Right.
that we're going to want to improve on, and I'll just start writing notes on that first, like general lane
Mm-hmm.
phase, and you can watch the video back for specifics, but like level
Mm-hmm.
2 advantage, playing more aggressive, playing more aggro when enemy cooldown, enemy spells on cooldown.
Mm-hmm.
These types of things, like just generally being more confident with your trading as well and stuff like that. Also, I'll write that play less around grasp because you play a little too much about it. Around it.
Mm-hmm. Right. Right. Okay. Yeah. No. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I'm still going to write more if you're to be clear.
Okay.
Um,
Great. Yeah. No. That's really helpful. And I think one thing that I don't think I fully grasp is like to your point. What I'm thinking is if I'm being more active in the map
yeah,
because I feel like I think what you're saying is that I don't need to push the wave all the way through so long that so long as it has momentum, right?
yeah,
And then what I should do instead is to go around the map to create more pressure. Um, and I think to your point, it makes it's okay to lose that gold that
yeah.
I would have gotten by pushing the wave really hard, right? Because at that point, if I'm too deep, I had to recall, or it'd be kind of
And
dangerous for
again,
me, so I probably had to
in mid
recall.
game, you're already again like we
Yeah.
said on our strong point. Like you don't care that much about getting a little bit extra items and whatever. More
Yeah.
than now we care about helping our team and getting our team ahead. Where it's like the early game is where we get ahead
Hmm.
more by playing aggressive, and then either we're ahead and now we're able to spread that advantage, or we get put behind, but that means that we dragged enemy jungle to us to give our team, say, instead of a 50% chance of our team winning, now they have a
Hmm.
55-60% chance of winning the early game, even if we're put behind. And if we're put behind, we're still useful, whereas, say, our Ezreal's not going to be useful from behind. Like that type of thing.
Right. Right.
And so that's
Got
why,
it.
yeah,
That
the,
makes
the
sense.
thing we wrote is just that I wrote down, just be more active on the map, push the wave enough for it to push into the enemy mid game, and then go back
Hmm.
only when they push it back into you. That way you can use that time to roam for different things. And if do you ever want me to type it out differently or it doesn't make sense, just let me know and then I'll change like the wording or whatever. But yeah.
Okay. Yeah. No. Okay. That makes sense. Thanks a lot, Talon.
All right. So I'm just this is what I do. Typically there'll probably be 6 to 9 points that we typically end up writing down.
Mhm.
So I'm just gonna think about them, and if you have anything specific we talked about again, then we'll write that down. I'm just gonna be thinking for a second about any other specifics that we talked about though. I think the jungle tracking was one thing. So it is still again like you'll choose probably 3 things of these to work on initially, but jungle tracking,
Mhm.
trade more aggro when our jungle is pathing towards us. Whether that
Yeah.
means that he has no camps left on his side of the map, and then his camps on your side are respawning, then you
Mhm.
can start looking for potentially more trades on like the wave once he's coming back, things like that. Obviously, keeping track of enemy jungle timing. I mean, typically, enemy jungle and your jungler will both start red side, and so if your jungler starts red side, and or at least have an inkling that their jungler started red side, you can, for the early game, essentially be like, my jungler's bot side, theirs is probably top side, because they're going to typically be clearing opposite of each other. And it's not an
Yeah.
exact thing, but it's an intuition, like a
Right.
thing we can generally understand. So,
Right.
okay. Let's see. Okay, talking about the difference between playing into split pushers and playing into like other tanks was something that was
Mhm.
important for us. So, um, basically, like into other tanks, we don't care about sometimes giving up golds because they're not
Mm.
going to be as quick about pushing. So like you still
Yes.
want to push your wave into them before you roam
Right.
because you don't want them just getting a ton of free gold because a Mundo who's fed is still a fed Mundo and that's scary. But like
Yeah.
if we leave a Jax and a Mundo on our turret for the same amount of time, Jax takes your turret, Mundo gets like
Way
2
back.
plates, right?
Yeah.
So it's like there's a very big difference between what we lose. So there's a lot more opportunities to roam and look for other plays and help our team again. So
Mhm.
basically, again, yeah, we don't care about sometimes giving up gold, and all of this is within reason. I think you have enough intelligence to understand. I'm not just telling you to give free turrets up for no reason.
Mhm.
Then into split pushers, make sure wave is fully pushed before roaming, because if they have any waves or minions or whatever, and you ult, then they're gonna get your entire tower, and then the rest of your game is gonna be a big problem.
Yeah.
Then 5, if you have questions, just stop me. But 5,
Mhm.
mid to late game against split pushers, or really anyone, honestly.
Mhm.
Stop raiding so much on side unless we hard win the trades, and like that's just like say you're really ahead, right?
Mhm.
Instead, go for the wave and ignore some damage, then look for a roam again.
Mhm.
Again, like as that Jax scenario, that Jax kept winning trades on you really hard, and then we can't do anything. We have to recall. There's just we lose a lot of tempo and everything on the map, stuff like that.
Right. Right.
Again, just spending time thinking. So I'm not. Do we talk any time specifically about just playing more? We talk about playing more aggressive in lane. I think somewhere here.
Mhm.
Um,
Yep.
I think just generally we should need to understand our role as a champion. Like understand our role as Shen or any tank.
Mhm.
Play to make the game easier for your team.
Right.
And that means I'm also really bad at typing if you can't tell, but meaning it is okay to die for vision, gold, tempo, your teammates, any type of these things. Anytime you're getting your teammate ahead, as long as you're not
Mhm.
like letting enemy carry get really ahead, we're perfectly happy with that, you know. So we
Mhm.
just need to be more
Right.
playing around that, and again, keeping our wave pushed, so that if the enemy jungler, so that's another thing, like wasting enemy jungler time.
Mhm.
Like that is a big thing that like again this the Nick guy I was talking to you about. When
Mhm.
I'm duo with him, say I'm playing bot lane, I'm playing mid lane, like you feel less
Mhm.
pressure even when he falls behind 2k gold, and that's why like he does a lot better when he plays duo or trio with good players because it's hard. This style is kind of hard for solo queue, and you can't lean as heavily into it as he does. But when I duo with him,
Mhm.
and he's just like perma dying, and he's 0-4, but I've never been ganked once by the enemy jungler, and say we're in a trio, maybe even with our jungler, and our jungler is perma playing around me, and it's really easy to play the
Mhm.
game like that. Like this is like the type of player that you need to try to be if you're going to play these types of champs. And again, he does it too much. I don't want you to be quite as much as he does. But this type of thing, like
Right.
paying attention, just wasting the enemy jungler time. If you think you can get out and then also like bait the jungler or stop the jungler's
Mhm.
back so that he's wasting his time looking for vision
Mhm.
and actually understanding where jungler is, all these types of things are important. Which kind of like makes me think about the next point as well. The
Yeah.
flash is a resource to be spent. So play more aggro
I
for
think. I
waves
think.
and stuff when we have it.
Yeah. I think what you're trying to say is basically it limit tests
Yeah.
my comfort in terms of pushing out.
I
Right.
mean, yeah, because
Because.
you're a very safe player, and we need to be a lot more aggressive, and that's going to lead to a lot of mistakes and a lot of losses, and people getting mad at you, and these things will happen. But I think
Right.
you seem like a relatively smart player, and you seem overall pretty good at the game. But you're just not allowing yourself to get any better because you're not allowing yourself to even make mistakes a lot of the times. Oh, and
Right.
the obvious thing is split push opposite side of Baron or opposite side of objective, because that was like a very common thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I think yeah, but anyway, I cut you off, but yeah. Is
No,
there
no,
anything?
no. No, that's a great point.
Okay, is there anything else? Any questions you have? Anything at all that you
No, no. I think that's it. I guess like in terms of like future coaching, right? Like
yeah.
what's a good interval in terms of the best of use of your time? Because
Yeah.
you don't want to see me like the next day and be like, hey,
Yeah, obviously
pretty much
it's not gonna be useful in that sense. So
right.
the season has about 2 months
Two
left.
months. Yep.
The best time for climbing is roughly within a month and a half left to 15-ish days left, because people
Hmm.
are still trying, but the
Hmm.
best players have climbed to higher elos to the point that you're not playing against Faker
Right.
in in
Right.
Diamond.
Yeah.
And so the best time to look for like trying to go for your peak is going to be around there.
Hmm.
So I would say in roughly a month's time, that might be good. But
Hmm.
additionally, as I was speaking about, you choose 2 to 3 of these things to think about at once. I want you maybe even like say
Hmm.
I'm gonna send you these notes. Say you
Hmm.
and anything else you thought of, and again the video will be up on YouTube probably within a week.
Hmm.
Choose 3 of these things. Ideally, they apply during different points of the game. So this lane phase stuff, I also did make a YouTube video on lane phase that I do think can be helpful if you watch that for some more
Hmm.
details on lane phase. Just work really hard on your lane phase on these
Hmm.
points that we talked about, and then find one of the things that applies later in the game. So, for example, the split pushing opposite side, like we need to make
Hmm.
sure that we're good at that, right? And
Hmm.
then dying for waves more often, or trading your health for waves rather than trading with people. Like these can be like the 3 things we work on. They can be other ones if you prefer other ones,
Right.
but they apply during kind of different parts of the game, so that you're
Right.
not overwhelming yourself all early game or whatever. And then you work
Yeah.
on those 3 things. Once you finish those, basically once you've gotten through these 8 points is essentially what I'm trying to say.
Okay.
Once you've gotten through
Okay.
all 8 of these things and you genuinely feel like each of them you understand and have improved on, and also
Hmm.
when we're getting towards that point in the season, then if you want another session of coaching, that might be a good idea.
Okay, yeah, sounds good. One thing I did, another YouTuber I found really helpful was Strider.
Oh,
His laning
Strider's great,
phase,
yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
So I did take a lot of his, minion positioning and minion aggro. I think for me, I still just need to be more aggressive and
Yeah,
be okay with dying. I think
for sure.
that's pretty much emblematic of my play style
Yeah.
right now.